Is it that time again already? Is it time to talk about the grapple? You're like, nope. Paper, you just talked about the grapple in the last video. And the last video before that. And the one before that. Well, you know what? We're doing it again anyways, because I put this nice montage for you guys together that just kind of captures all the things that I know about grapple. And what I've learned up to this point is that once you learn everything that there is to know about the grapple and how to manipulate it, that then there's still so much more to learn, because you get to now experience that magic on all sorts of different terrains to make all these different combination of movements. And I think that's why the game never gets old for me, because I use grapple. You know what, if you're just using the basic mobility and just bunny hopping, you guys are missing a complete layer of Titanfall. I swear this ability is going to become stock if they ever make Titanfall 3. Alright, correction, when they make Titanfall 3. My god, between that and slide shots, this game scores a perfect 10 out of 10 for style. And I put a couple of deaths in this montage because one of those things that really sticks out to me is that no matter how good your movement is in this game, you're always going to die. There's always all these factors that end up killing you. And I think the part that interests me the most is that even when you're doing perfect movement and you still die, there's actually a different way to look at it. There's still this one point in the game where even when you know you're doing everything right and you still die, that you still appreciate the game because you're like, maybe I took the wrong path. I did the movements right, but I took the wrong path. And that's one of the things that you hear yourself saying a lot, at least I do internally when you're using grapple. It's like my movement was impeccable at the time, and then I died to something, which you're gonna kind of see in the moment. And then I'm like, well, maybe I could have used a different path. And the thing is that those paths are continuously opening up more and more the better you get with grapple. So that's why I always make these videos, because I always want you guys to think a little bit different about grapple and how you can really apply it. And then maybe you won't die to silly things like some guy trying to sneak up behind you, because you can do a little move like this. I do a lot of these upward moves. That's also the basis for how I do a lot of eject grabs. If you see me do eject grabs now, I don't have to eject with you. I can just climb the wall and meet you halfway. And a lot of that comes down to just being prepared and knowing where people are going to be. Like, this is why I like this clip in particular. Once I know where somebody is, I can already start planning my approach with how I'm going to do something with grapple. Like, I have this all mapped out in my head. So I just want to show you guys how this unfolds. Bingo. And that's really what gets me in this game, is that I always have all these ways to look at it. And when I came back from camping the other week, I swear I was slightly better with my grapple, because I got out of my old routines, I started looking for new paths and just new opportunities. And really all I wanted to do was play a Spider-Man game with guns. Can you imagine what would happen if Spider-Man used guns? He'd be way too strong. Because essentially he'd just be Spider-Man put together with Iron Man. And then he just set all his lasers to kill, and that would be the end of everybody. That's why they got rid of him in the MCU. The power creep was way too high. Like, Captain Marvel can't even stand up to Spider-Man put together with Iron Man. With the Punisher as well. I remember that's what I used to say. I'm like, you're kind of like Spider-Man as the Punisher. But now I kind of feel like Iron Man as well, because you're practically flying, right? Punisher can't fly. Iron Man? Hell yeah. So I'm kind of flying with a web slinger while running on walls. That's Spider-Man like. What is this like? This is real pilot, like being able to bunny hop through that little corridor. Oh yeah. Pre-shoot this because he should be weak. Oh yeah. There's actually some pretty good movement. That's why I picked this video in particular, because it kind of just puts everything together, right? Trying to set yourself up with a grenadier is pretty much mainly based on movement. If not, you're gonna usually not do very well with a grenadier. It's not particularly forgiving, especially for slow players and also players that are locked to the ground, because it's very hard to land that splash damage when you're below. From on top, it's just death from above, right? So if you want to challenge yourself, try landing on things like this. It's not as easy as it looks, but it gets a lot easier if you start doing it more often. That's the same thing when trying to go through windows. If you're somebody who grapples, start challenging yourself in how you use your grapple. Start trying to swing through windows, through doors, through small hallways. You'd be surprised with how much you can do with your grapple without just going straight up and slingshotting. Like, the amount of speed you can actually build up in these tiny areas like hallways is actually super useful, super practical, and just a lot of fun to do. It looks amazing. And really the bottom line is that the more you do it, the easier it gets. I didn't get here on day one. It took me, what, almost 2 years to get to the point. Yeah, it took me about 2 years to get to this point because up until then, I was still just using basic movements. I had learned how to do the skipping. If you guys have ever seen me do the move where I just go on the ceiling and infinitely grapple, I think you have to be able to do that because that's what trains you to be able to release the grapple really quick. It also gets you used to using that second jump to give you that small boost, which is a big part of doing those little grapple skips. So I think that's what you need to kind of focus on if you are somebody that really wants to get into grapple and be able to do all these really cool techniques. Because for one, not only does it allow you to do that thing like infinitely grapple because now you're not wasting much of your charge, it's actually what you need to do if you're going to be taking like the little tight turns that you guys have also seen me do. Again, these are tricks that you do kind of in a small hallway or just when I'm rounding a corner because it does give you a huge boost to speed. Plus, it just lets you turn on a dime in a way that you just can't do without the grapple. Just a last second little grapple, but it helped me keep up my speed. It didn't hurt me anyways. Plus, it's just something extra for me to do when I'm going across the map. Like, it entertains me, and that's part of the game, is just to entertain yourself. So in the end, you know, whatever makes you happy. If you love Stim, if you love Phase, if you love your Spitfire, you know, use it. Go nuts. It's just gonna make me gun for you, that's all. Because I feel like you're spitting my face using that weapon and not flying around the map. But whatever makes you happy, right? Get over here, pilot. Are we gonna catch him? Gonna have to grapple a little bit more. Oh, see, I was able to make the turn there. And that's all about like trying to hold on to the grapple. Like you can still influence it a little bit as you're swinging forwards, right? You can move yourself slightly to the left, slightly to the right. I got a lot of clips. Like when I was making this video, I ended up just putting a lot of the clips like off to the side as because I kind of go for a certain flow. I find certain clips work better. I'll probably end up using them in the next video, even though it's actually going to be a different concept. You guys will see it eventually, I'm sure. I save some of these until I end up using them. And when I do usually see it, I like to point it out because I want you guys to know about it. Like one of the things about holding onto the grappling hook and having like boxes in your way is that as long as you can grab onto the grappling hook and not let it go, which means that you have to keep the grappling hook in your sights. That's what keeps it from coming off. But you still have to dodge left and right enough that that you're dodging things, right? So there's a balance between turning enough but not letting go of your hook. And that's where it makes things difficult. But the good thing about it is that the grappling hook will drag you past these things as long as you don't break contact. Does that make sense to you guys? I feel like I need to show you. We'll wait for a specific clip and I'll break that down a little bit more. I remember one of the things I talked about in the last time I actually did a guide where I talked about specific moves is getting people to appreciate the pullback and then learning how to space your jumps, because spamming both your jumps is a huge no-no. Not all the time, it depends on what you're doing, but in regards to control of the grappling hook, the jumps is actually what gives you the greatest effect. It's what makes you be able to pull in with your grappling hook and then actually re-extend the grappling hook while still grabbing onto it, but that all has to do with the spacing. So anyways, that's where we're going to leave it for today. In the next episode, I'm going to show you guys something a little bit different. I'm going to show you guys something super strong. And no, it's not Monarch again. The only other thing I want to announce, actually, we're not going to do it yet. It's going to be a surprise, but don't you worry, guys. It has to do with Twitch. We are going to be stepping up our games, so I'll share that a little bit more with you guys next week, because by then, everything should be done and in place. So thank you all for joining me. I'm Paper. Cut to you. And I'll see you all next time.